You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Today, authorities continue their search for a man who escaped from the Ottawa County Jail on Saturday.
As the sun rises above the four states, we get ready for possible record-setting temperatures by the middle of the week. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
Also, high schoolers from Frontenac spend their weekend passing out shoes to those in need. All that and more coming up.
The four states' most watched news starts now.
Thanks for joining us for the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. I'm Tanya Bach. The search continues for a man who escaped from the Ottawa County Jail. According to the Ottawa County Sheriff's Office, at around 1 a.m. Saturday, Charles Chuck Chance escaped from the Ottawa County Jail. Chance was last seen wearing a white t-shirt and gray sweatpants. He's described as a white male, approximately 5'10", around 200 pounds, brown hair, and blue eyes. Authorities say he was last seen in the North Miami area. If you have any information on his location, you're urged to contact the Ottawa County Sheriff's Office. That number, 918-542-2806, or you can call Central Dispatch at 918-542-5585. The Miami Police Department investigates a shooting in the southeast part of town. According to police, officers on Sunday responded to a residence in the southeast part of town regarding a shooting, and when they arrived, they found a victim with a single gunshot wound. That victim was transported by ambulance for further treatment. Authorities are investigating and are not releasing any other details. A Ponca City, Oklahoma man is pronounced dead after a fatal crash. Responders transported Bernie Henderson, 71 years old, to Ponca City Hospital after he was traveling northbound on Old River Road. We're told Henderson drifted to the right and hit a culvert. He was pronounced dead less than an hour later at the hospital. The American Red Cross of Missouri and Arkansas coordinates with local and state emergency management to assist communities hit by devastating tornadoes overnight in Missouri and Arkansas. Red Cross has sent responders to affected communities in the greater St. Louis area, including Edwardsville, Illinois, and in St. Charles County, where homes were destroyed, in Defiance, Missouri. Responders also provided assistance in Wright and Stone counties in Missouri, where homes were damaged, and are in the northeast Arkansas communities affected in Craighead County and surrounding areas. If you'd like to help, visit redcross.org. On Saturday, Santa and Mrs. Claus came to Carthage, Missouri to spread holiday cheer to the VFW's Post members and their families. Kiddos and even adults had the opportunity for photos on Santa's lap. Attendees were also able to eat hot dogs, chips, and soda provided by the organization. It was all part of a way for the VFW to give back to their members and get them in the Christmas spirit.
Everybody that's out here that you see, most of the members, men and women, are combat veterans. So they've been across somewhere where they've got a badge or a ribbon on their DD-214. So obviously you want to take care of the people that take care of you, you know.
On Saturday, the 18th, the VFW plans to host a turkey shoot to raise funds for local veterans. They'll also be giving out food baskets to veterans in need. Well, Santa Claus also came to Parsons on Sunday to the roof of the Santa's Landing. Santa made the visit as he has for many years. In fact, Santa Landing was created in 2015 to keep the tradition of seeing Santa on the rooftop in Parsons alive. For many years, families and children have enjoyed driving down Chess Street to find Santa waving and talking to every boy and girl.
I think it's kind of one of those things too that it started with something that, you know, my husband and I both, we love Christmas, and it started with a crazy idea he had of, hey, let's do this, let's decorate for Christmas and display lights for our house, and it turned into a huge, you know, this huge ordeal event that we have the community always talking about it from year to year.
There was free hot chocolate available, perfect for a chilly evening like Sunday night. And kids had the opportunity to write a letter to Santa and drop it in the Santa mailbox. Well, American author Anne Rice has passed away. Rice's son said she died Saturday after suffering complications from a stroke. Interview with a Vampire, published in 1976, was Rice's first novel and biggest success. The book was later made into a feature film starring Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt, one of my favorites. The success helped ignite a renewed interest in the vampire genre, which continued with the Vampire Diaries series and the Twilight films. Rice would go on to write more than 30 books, including the popular 13-book series, The Vampire Chronicles. Rice will be buried in a private ceremony in New Orleans. Public memorial is planned for next year, and Rice was 80 years old.
She'll always be associated with New Orleans. But, you know, she's a Texas girl.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I think she went to, I can't remember if she went to TWU or North Texas State. But yeah, that's where she started college. I think she graduated, it was either Plano or Richardson. It was one of those. Are you familiar with the name A.N. Roquelaire?
A.N. Roquelaire.
This is one of her pseudonyms.
Ah.
For those of you that know that name, I got to do the weather. Daily Almanac for this Monday would be an average high of 48 degrees. We're going to make that thing look like overnight lows here by the time we get to the middle of the week. We'll end up challenging some records. Not so much today. We won't get up to 76 that we got back up to in 1948. But by the time we get to Tuesday and Wednesday, yeah, we're going to be busting open the almanac and looking, especially when we get in between about the 2 and 3 o'clock hours. Our key factor for today, temperatures are going to be mild, but our wind is going to be very, very high out of the south. Our humidity already down to 56%. We'll see this thing plummet down to about 30%. So you got your triumvirate, you go boom, 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 elevated fire risk for this Monday. Temperatures right now, 43 in Joplin, 38 in Parsons. Let's go 41 in Carthage and another 43 there in Miami. Eventually gusting up to about 25 to 30 miles per hour. And so we'll go about 10 to 15 miles per hour sustained throughout the course of the day. High wind watches for our counties in tan up to the northwest, but even if your county is not indicated, please know it's going to be very blustery. Now, as we break into the contiguous 48 split jet stream, whole lot of moisture now making its way off the Pacific Ocean. And now we have to talk about what happened over the weekend. And we will be sensitive as we do this. If this brings back anything that you've been through in the past, we completely understand. If you want to grab the cup of coffee, get the kids breakfast, we are going to talk about what is now being called the Quad State outbreak from Friday night into Saturday morning. And give you an idea of just the swath that it covered. The question that will remain unanswered for several days. Was it one tornado? Was it multiple tornadoes? Well, as we get through the morning, what we're determining right now from the National Weather Service is the swath, the single tornado we know did cut a 100-mile swath from Arkansas up through Kentucky. Just one single tornado, and they may extend that. All be told, this path that we're looking at right here, that's about 250 miles. And while we concentrate on that path, don't forget there were also tornadoes that spawned in south central Illinois and south central Indiana as well. Numerous reports, as much as 20 tornadoes touching the ground from Friday night into Saturday morning, with pretty much the entire state of Kentucky now declared a disaster area. It got abnormally warm. Here's one thing that I want to talk about because we're going to get abnormally warm. We're going to stay out of harm's way. Now, we're going to have thunderstorm activity. That's not going to be until Thursday. Tuesday and Wednesday, we're going to have scattered rain. It's not going to be widespread by any means. Now, Wednesday night, that's when we're going to start to pick up thunderstorm activity. This line right here, it's going to last from Wednesday night into Thursday morning. It's going to bring us cooler temperatures. But we don't have that massive cool down like that cold front that hit Arkansas, Kentucky, the boot heel, Indiana, Illinois. We don't have that. We're back up to the 60s on Friday. The big cold front is actually going to be Friday into Saturday, where we get down into the 30s to begin the weekend.
Yeah, that's going to be a drastic change, for sure. All right. Up next, in the midst of battling one coronavirus variant, the threat of another increases. Omicron now identified in at least 29 states and Washington, D.C. And later, United States wins appeal to overturn Julian Assange extradition. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14.
It's beginning.
U.S. continues to see a surge in COVID-19 cases driven by the Delta variant. But the latest data shows Omicron has now been identified in at least 29 states and Washington, D.C. And the mask mandate debate is heating up once again. Mandy Gaither has the latest.
In the midst of battling one coronavirus variant, the threat of another increases. Omicron now identified in more than half of the U.S.
It is going to spread like wildfire across the United States, and we got to be ready for it.
Top U.S. health officials say the latest data on Omicron indicates the variant spreads easily, but it's still unclear if it leads to milder disease. And experts say, regardless, boosters are critical.
Preliminary data show that when you get a booster, for example, a third shot of an mRNA, it raises the level of protection high enough that it then does do well against the Omicron.
Meanwhile, the Delta variant is still wreaking havoc. Overall, at least 40 states reported a rise in new cases at some point in the past 2 weeks.
There are certain states like New Hampshire and Massachusetts where the healthcare systems are beginning to get pressed, and mask mandates are the easiest thing we can do, sort of collective action that puts some downward pressure on spread.
In New York, an increase in cases prompted a temporary mask mandate for all indoor public spaces without a vaccine requirement. There's pushback on issuing mask requirements in other states.
And what you're really telling folks is, thank you for making the sacrifice and getting the vaccine, getting the boosters, doing the right thing, and you're still in the penalty box.
I'm Mandy Gaither reporting.
The 7-day average of new COVID-19 cases has increased about 63% from 2 weeks ago. That's according to data from Johns Hopkins University. Well, this is a story that doesn't require much explanation. It's cell phone video from Monrovia, California, and that's where an inflatable reindeer caught the attention of a bear. A real one. Maybe the bear was looking for an easy meal, or maybe he just saw that giant reindeer as a challenge. At any rate, the bear attacked, and the reindeer didn't flinch. It bent, but didn't flee. And every time the bear thinks he's won, the deer just rises back up again. Another bear joins in on the low-calorie deer hunt, but he doesn't have much success either.
How did it not pop?
Eventually, they both leave, presumably in search of easier prey. If there's a testament, like a video that they could use for advertising, it'd be like, this is the quality of material.
It's a testament to who made that product, isn't it?
Right?
I was
the deer that keeps getting back up.
was taking a dog for a walk over the weekend, and he was not happy with the blow-up nativity scene, and I'm like, you cannot bark at the Holy Family. Like, let's keep on walking down the block. Don't do that. Tanya, National Weather Service right now is sitting, this is a swath of the tornado and the storm system, I should say. This is the path of the storm system in and of itself, but the National Weather Service right now on site in Paducah, Kentucky. That is just to the north of Mayfield. You've been hearing a lot about Mayfield, Kentucky because of the extensive damage that the downtown area received. Right now, National Weather Service is in Paducah. You're going to find that just on the east side of the Mississippi, just south of the Ohio River. And so what they're examining right now is, was it one tornado? Was it multiple tornadoes? Anyway, 6 1/2 with the damage and destruction that this complex caused. Let's just call this a storm complex that traversed through 6 states. And so that's what they're working on right now, and we're going to have updates coming out by the minute here as we progress through our Monday, and we'll get those to you ASAP. 43 degrees is where we stand right now over Joplin with a strong southerly wind. We'll get up into the mid-60s today. It's really going to be Tuesday and Wednesday where we challenge those record mid-December high temperatures. And then late Wednesday night into early Thursday morning, we've got thunderstorms of our own, little bit of a cold front, but the big cold front, that arrives from Friday into Saturday. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this. This may sound a little bit convoluted, but bear with me here. United States wins an appeal to overturn Julian Assange's extradition. A legal battle to overturn the decision not to extradite WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange has been won by the United States government. In January, a British judge rejected a request by the U.S. that Assange be extradited to the States. Extradition was viewed as being, quote, oppressive, and the judge at that time considered that the special administrative measures Assange would hold would negatively impact his mental health. So Assange has been incarcerated at London's Belmarsh prison since April 2019. Now, the United States says Assange committed espionage when WikiLeaks published secret military documents a decade ago. On Saturday, a group of Frontenac high schoolers were in Pittsburgh handing out shoes to those in need. Our own Bronte Sorotsky spoke with the students on why they volunteer their time to help the community and how their teacher thinks it helps them in the future.
On a Saturday night, you won't find this group of high school students at the mall or at the movies. You'll find them volunteering at the Lord's Diner in Pittsburgh.
So being able to see people walk up to the window and being able to hand them a pair of shoes is a really cool thing.
It's a part of a class at Frontenac High School called Raider Inc., a student-run graphics business.
We sell shirts and we sell items and raise money by just every item we sell is $1 raised for our organization. We decided to do shoes.
Anyone was able to come to the Lord's Diner and get a pair of shoes free of charge.
Last year we sold shirts to businesses with their logos on them, and the shirts raised $2,300. So, and that's what we were able to purchase the shoes.
Now, these students are able to see their hard work pay off.
A big part of me wanting to be here is that I spent almost every class period of the spring semester working. So being able to see the finished product given out to the people of the community is a really big deal for me and the other seniors that are here today as well.
Their teacher hopes the experience can help them not only now, but also later in life.
Should be shaping the kids, and I believe that if they can do it when they're 16, 17, 18, and when they're 26 with some sort of power in a company, that they could be able to change the company.
Not only was it a big accomplishment for the students to see their hard work pay off, but it was also a way to help out those in need in the community this winter. In Pittsburgh, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Pretty interesting to see Lexi McGowan say that, it was a big deal to her. And Lexi, I know it was a big deal to you and everybody that worked for it. Trust me, it was a much bigger deal to the community you all take care of. And Eric, congratulations to you and your class on an amazing accomplishment. Folks, this group had 230 pairs of shoes that they passed out. That is absolutely amazing. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
It's time to honor today's four-state hero, Specialist Michael McDaniels. Specialist McDaniels served with the C Company in Kirkuk, Iraq. His hometown, Arma, Kansas. We thank you, Specialist Michael McDaniels, our four-state hero. Well, Santa Claus had to keep his distance last year because of COVID, but this year he's back in the sleigh after being put through the paces in the classroom. CBS's Ian Lee has the story from London.
Apparently, old St. Nick wasn't born to be Santa. First, he had to go to school.
Santa Tim, can we have a ho ho ho?
Ho, 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 ho! Class is in session at London's Santa HQ, where they learn the do's and, just as important, the don'ts.
A bad Santa says, who are you, what's your name, where do you live, how old are you, what do you want for Christmas?
If you want an authentic Santa chuckle, here's a pro tip.
Imagine that you've got a little belt here, tuck your thumbs in there, and then just push your belly out and go, ho, ho, ho!
It's also important to remember who you're working with.
Dancer and Prancer, Comet and Blitzen.
The Santa gig can pay more than $1,000 a day here in the UK, but like in the US, Kris Kringles are in short supply.
But of course, the world has changed since last year, and we would be foolish to ignore those changes.
COVID put the kibosh on seeing Santa last year, so many made virtual visits to the North Pole. But now, he's coming to town.
The belt is rather good.
But how will Santa stay safe and not deliver COVID along with any presents?
All our reindeers are jabbed. The ones that need the boosters have also had the booster. They're all very, very happy to do it.
Plus, the big guy visits at night when everyone is asleep, so he can spread the magic of Christmas while keeping his distance. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
Along with mastering their ho ho ho, Santa students must also learn how to say Merry Christmas in lots of different languages. Another half hour of news and weather is just ahead. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Tornadoes tear through 6 states over the weekend, and the damage to one town in Kentucky is still being assessed. And Missouri Governor Mike Parsons tours tornado damage to the state after speaking to President Biden. You're watching the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. We'll be right back.
For worry-free, the 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. It's currently 7:29. Let's take a look at today's top stories. The search continues for a man who escaped from the Ottawa County Jail. According to the Ottawa County Sheriff's Office, at around 1 a.m. Saturday, Charles Chuck Chance escaped from the Ottawa County Jail. Chance was last seen wearing a white t-shirt and gray sweatpants. He's described as a white male, approximately 5'10", around 200 pounds, brown hair and blue eyes. Authorities say he was last seen in the North Miami area. If you have any information on his location, you're urged to contact the Ottawa County Sheriff's Office, 918-542-2806, or Central Dispatch at 918-542-5585. Miami Police Department investigates a shooting in the southeast part of town. According to police, officers on Sunday responded to a residence in the southeast part of town regarding a shooting. When they arrived, they found a victim with a single gunshot wound and transported him by ambulance for further treatment. Authorities are investigating and are not releasing any other details. Joplin Fire Department Friday put out a house fire at 18th and Sargent. Officials say everyone inside the time of the fire made it out, and it turns out there were no injuries. Joplin Fire Marshal says it was an electrical fire. On Saturday, Santa and Mrs. Claus were out and about in Carthage, Missouri to spread holiday cheer to the VFW's post members and their families. The kiddos and even adults had the opportunity for photos on Santa's lap. Attendees were also able to eat hot dogs, chips, and soda provided by the organization. It was all part of a way for the VFW to give back to their members and get them in the Christmas spirit.
Everybody that's out here that you see, most of the members, men and women, are combat veterans. So they've been across somewhere where they've got a badge or a ribbon on their DD-214. So obviously you want to take care of the people that take care of you, you know.
On Saturday, the 18th, the VFW plans to host a turkey shoot to raise funds for local veterans. They'll also be giving out food baskets to veterans in need. Well, Santa Claus is coming to town. In fact, Santa Claus came to Parsons on Sunday to the roof of the Santa's Landing. Santa made the visit as he has for many years. In fact, Santa Landing was created in 2015 to keep the tradition of seeing Santa on the rooftop in Parsons alive. For many years, families and children have enjoyed driving down Chest Street to find Santa waving and talking to every boy and girl.
I think it's kind of one of those things too that it started with something that, you know, my husband and I both, we love Christmas, and it started with a crazy idea he had of, hey, let's do this, let's decorate for Christmas and display lights for our house, and it turned into a huge, you know, this huge ordeal event that we have the community always talking about it from year to year. So.
And there was free hot chocolate available, perfect for a chilly evening like it was over the weekend. And kids had the opportunity to write a letter to Santa and drop it in the Santa mailbox. 100 years ago, miners in southeast Kansas faced hazardous working conditions for little pay. And thanks to a group of women, that was able to change. KOAM's Bronte Sorotsky visited the Miners Hall Museum in Franklin to learn about a group of women who paved the way for labor reform in southeast Kansas.
Southeast Kansas is known for its history of coal mining and immigrant heritage. But what many may not know about are a group of women in the area who made history. Let's go back 100 years.
Ending our year with a look at the importance and the impact of what these women did here on this very day. In December of 1921.
This group of women, named the Amazon Army, were made up of thousands of wives, sisters, mothers, and daughters of southeast Kansas coal miners who were on strike.
We're celebrating the fact that over 2,000 to 6,000 women got together at a time when it was very difficult to even communicate with each other. No internet, no cell phones, and they banded together in solidarity to, to really march against an unfair labor act and to support their men. And in the end, their march proved to be very successful.
Linda Knoll, a historian at the Miners Hall Museum in Franklin, presented the facts of the March of the Amazon Army to a group who came to learn more about the women. Also in attendance was Andy Kennedy, whose great-grandmother marched in the Amazon Army herself. Kennedy was searching for more details on her great-grandfather when she made a big discovery.
And didn't know anything about my great-grandfather other than that he had been killed in a mining dispute. So wanting to know his family, where they were from. When I did write to the Kansas Genealogy Society, I just sent an email, and then they connected me over the phone. One of the women said, I know you're looking for information on your great-grandfather. But did you know that your great-grandmother marched in the Amazon Army? And I said, what? Right?
That's when she learned about the marches that took place.
Shocking, yeah. I'm actually putting it into a novel because it's just such an amazing story. She was definitely a pistol of a woman.
What Knoll wanted for more people to know about this group of iconic Southeast Kansas women was able to come to life.
I am just pleased to have this opportunity. We had a speaker series. All year long we had speakers. People came to the museum. They all enjoyed the stories. And it's actually the day of one of their marches where 2,000 to 3,000 of them were out marching.
In Franklin, Kansas, Bronte Sorotsky, KOAM News.
Back then, about a third of the nation's coal came from Southeast Kansas. Violin is one of the oldest and most popular stringed instruments in history, and today is the day to celebrate the fiddle because it is National Violin Day, observed every year on December 13th. Many people may associate the violin with classical music, but the truth is that it's used in many styles and genres. That includes jazz, rock, country, bluegrass, and folk music. So whether you have a student model or a priceless Stradivarius or no fiddle at all, take a moment to tip your hat to the violin.
Perfect.
I love it when there's a fiddle in the band, for sure.
Well, we're going to talk about Kentucky and Tennessee in just here a little bit.
There you go.
Yeah, unfortunately. Hello, Glow Cloud, rising over the 4 states in the mothership. 43 right now in Joplin. Let's go 38 in Neodesha, 41 in Miami. Only 33 though in Nevada, but good south wind and a whole bunch of sunshine is going to lift us up into the mid-60s. Abnormally warm today, as our normal high for this time of year would only be about 48. So much wind to the fact where we've got high wind watches for our counties indicated there in tan. Doesn't matter where you are, still going to come in at 10 to 15 miles per hour and gusts of about 25 miles per hour. Got a little split in the jet stream. We get the ridge, which that means not only abnormally warm, but challenge some record highs here by the time it's all said and done. Now, this is the storm system from Friday night into Saturday morning. Right now, the National Weather Service trying to determine just exactly how many tornadoes dropped. The reports of at least 20 tornadoes. We do know that one cut a 100-mile swath, a singular tornado, and that may be extended right now, but that is the one that started in northeast Arkansas and ran through Mayfield, Kentucky as well. And as those updates come out from the National Weather Service, certainly we'll keep you updated. Sunny skies here in the 4 states up into the mid-60s today. Record-breaking temperature, the chance for record-breaking temperatures there on Tuesday and Wednesday. Wednesday night brings us thunderstorm activity into Thursday morning with cooler temperatures on the backside of it, but the big cool down really comes from Friday into Saturday, as we'll only have temperatures in the mid-30s over the weekend. We'll have more KOAM morning news on Fox 14 right after this.
Garlic.
Going to spend a little bit more time here talking about the tornadoes that ripped through 6 different states. It's being called the quad state tornado, but I do want to point out that it actually did touch 6 different states from Friday afternoon all the way into early Saturday morning. Here in the 4 states, as we sit at 20 minutes until the 8 o'clock hour, let's talk about a little warmth for mid-December. While we won't challenge our record of 76 that dates back to 1948, for tomorrow and into Wednesday, we are going to get close to record highs. Very comfortable start over Joplin where we sit at 43 degrees. 3 factors in play for us today. Number 1, very low humidity. Number 2, very high winds. Number 3, abnormally warm temperatures. You put the triumvirate together, equals elevated fire risks. Now, we're still a little bit cool up to the north, 33 in Nevada and 34 in Fort Scott. Compare that to 43 in Miami and 42 in Neosho. East to west, it's pretty similar, anywhere, 42 to 38. So we don't have the wide gap there. It's kind of our north-south gap that we're seeing. But it doesn't matter where you are, it is windy. Yeah, about the 5th consecutive day that we've had to talk about that. Now, while we do have some high wind watches for those counties that are indicated in tan, and you'll notice those run all the way into Thursday. So yeah, not going to die down anytime soon. And with it coming in from the south, need everybody to be very careful, especially when you're traversing from east to west and high profile vehicles. Split jet stream, but a whole bunch of moisture that's now moving in off the Pacific. We get under the ridge of the jet stream. That means warm temperatures, not only for today, but really for the rest of the week. We'll be up into the mid-60s here later on today. Plenty of sunshine. Really don't have any cloud cover that originates until Tuesday. Now, speaking of the cloud cover, we get some scattered rain. You'll see the green just bebop through for Tuesday into Wednesday. Not really much to talk about there, but even with the cloud cover, still abnormally warm temperatures. Now, as we get into Thursday, that's the scattered part. Watch this line right here where we see the cold front develop. That's our thunderstorm activity for late Wednesday night into Thursday morning. And you'll also notice, look at that line right there. That is the same line that just had the tornadoes from Friday into Saturday. So while we talk about record highs here and the cold front, our severe weather threat does diminish after we get past Wednesday into Thursday. Now here's a look at the swath from Friday into Saturday, about 250 miles. Right now the National Weather Service confirming that there was one tornado that at least was on the ground for 100 miles. So let's just call this a complex of storms until the National Weather Service determines exactly how many tornadoes cut that swath, because we've got reports of at least 20 on the ground. So as this progresses through, it gives you an idea here. This is actually a 48-hour loop that we've got. But just in case you haven't seen the radar of it, there's the line as it moved through. So let's get the latest from Mayfield, Kentucky.
The total damage inflicted by Friday's tornado outbreak is still unknown.
It looks like a war. I mean, like it just looks like bombs went off.
Twisters touched down in 6 Midwestern states Friday night. The most severe damage was in Kentucky, where at least 4 tornadoes left a trail of wreckage more than 200 miles long.
Where all this rubble is a dining room.
I heard it go through. It was awful. I've never been through anything like that in my life.
Officials are struggling to determine how many people were killed and how many are missing.
I am praying that maybe original estimates of those we've lost were wrong. If so, it's going to be pretty wonderful, but it's way too early.
Here in downtown Mayfield, Kentucky, a thriving business district has been decimated. This office building unrecognizable except for a lone bookcase still standing. Throughout Kentucky, it was initially feared the death toll would exceed 100. Last night, Governor Andy Beshear said at least 50 people had died.
But I think it's going to be significantly worse than that. Remember, we're still finding bodies.
The search and rescue operation has been hampered by power and cell phone outages.
You look around and you have so many people saying, how can we help? But it's almost like, where do you begin?
At least 14 deaths have been confirmed in other states, including 6 at an Amazon building in Illinois. Laura Podesta, CBS News, Mayfield, Kentucky.
And while Laura was concentrating on that swath specifically of storms where the most devastation happened, the National Weather Service reporting there were actually tornadoes that touched down in 8 different states, and we're now up to 50 separate reports. We'll be back with more KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
A major raise for one of America's largest telecom companies. T-Mobile announces they'll be paying all 75,000 of its hourly workers a minimum wage of $20 per hour. This comes as a steady rise in inflation is poised to hurt middle-class workers who often rely on hourly wages. T-Mobile hopes this pay raise attracts more workers, as they reportedly hope to add 5,000 people to their staff. The company lost a number of workers due to pandemic layoffs and in the aftermath of their merger with Sprint last year. T-Mobile's CEO said this decision is about inclusion and making sure no employee is left behind. A group of California businesses affected by a new animal welfare law are suing the state to stop it from going through. The coalition of restaurants and grocery stores wants to halt California from implementing Proposition 12, which covers how some animals destined for meat products are to be raised, and pigs and chickens and calves must be given turnaround room. Hog farmers particularly argue that the changes would be too expensive in raising and cannot be carried out until the state approved final regulations for the new standards. State officials have missed deadlines for releasing specific California guidelines. Proposition 12 was passed by voters in November 2018. We'll be right back with more after this, but first let's take a look at the market prices before the opening bell.
It's double morning Instapoll time on the KOAM News Now Facebook page. Christmas creativity. Want to introduce you to Virginia Hoffman, who went all out, designed her real-life gingerbread house in Salt Lake City, Utah. Started a few years back when she realized that red brick near century-old Tudor home already kind of looked like a gingerbread house, just needed a few additions. So threw up a couple gumballs that her and her family painted. Virginia said her son and daughter helped her figure out how to attach them to the roof, and it just took off from there. She says hundreds and hundreds of hours of labor of love, and puts a smile on the face of passersby. Our question for you, how creative are you getting for Christmas? Right now, 43% of you say, decorating a tree. That's good enough for me. 15% of you have the lights up. Thank you, you 5%ers. You put a smile on everybody's face when you do that, and the vaunted other chiming in with 30%. Hopefully you don't have that inflatable that we had earlier that the bear attacked. No easy segue for this as we turn our attention back to the weather and the tornado outbreak that transpired from Friday afternoon into early Saturday morning throughout the Midwest. More than 100 people are possibly dead from those tornadoes that ripped through 8 different states. Missouri Governor Mike Parsons toured the storm damage in the Show Me State after speaking with President Joe Biden. Alex Fees, he was with Missouri state officials as they surveyed the damage.
St. Charles County residents are hoping this iconic image of the holiday season tornadoes of 2021 is replaced by this one. Community members turning out to help clean up the damage. Governor Mike Parsons toured the path of the tornado Sunday morning and met with people affected. He is marshaling state and federal resources.
Conversation with the president yesterday between me and the other 3 governors was a positive conversation. He was saying whatever he needed to do, whatever they could do from that level to help all these states that they were willing to do, and whatever resources they had, don't be afraid to ask for them.
In December, from Amazon facility, I think in Illinois, Kentucky, it's just, the prayers with everybody who's been impacted by this.
The stately 130-year-old Callaway Crest Farms horse barn was destroyed Friday night, while 5 horses were in their stalls. 2 of them died.
I mean, we had so many people out here trying to help us get them untrapped, and we were able to get 3 out alive.
American Red Cross officials are on the ground working in St. Charles County in the short term and the long term.
Our teams have been in response both in southeast Missouri as well as here in St. Louis, in Edwardsville, and in southeast Arkansas.
This is my sister.
Connie Kisker's family is counting their blessings this holiday season. Her sister and brother-in-law walked away from this.
Got back down to the steps, got to the bottom of the steps, and her house collapsed on her. And then the windows had blown out in the basement there, and debris flying everywhere. They were just trying to take cover.
Of course, here in the 4 states, we're all too familiar not only with the pictures of the damage and the life-changing stories that it has, but also the amazing force of Mother Nature. There have been pictures, family pictures, that were in portions of Kentucky that were found 150 miles away in Indiana. Also of note, while we follow this swath right here, it's also important to point out that there were tornadoes that touched down in central Indiana and also central Illinois, right in that area, and a woman in St. Charles County, which is right outside of St. Louis, 84-year-old. She died as the result of injuries from the storm. We'll be back, wrap up this edition of the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14 right after this.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News on Fox 14. Here's what's happening today. Kentucky and several other neighboring states are grieving after devastating tornadoes struck the region. Spokesperson for a candle factory in Mayfield, Kentucky says dozens more people have been accounted for, indicating the state's death toll may be lower than initially feared. And search efforts at a severely hit Amazon facility in Illinois are expected to take several days. The western U.S. is bracing for a winter storm today. Heavy snow is forecast for California's highest peaks, while rain could soak other parts of the state. People in the Sierra Nevada are being told to prepare for days of snowfall. Author Anne Rice has died after complications from a stroke, an adaptation of her 1976 novel, Interview with a Vampire, years later hit the silver screen in the film starring Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt. Anne Rice was 80. Let's check in with Michael with a final look at your forecast.
Temperature is pretty mild, not too bad. I mean, talking about mid-December right now. We just wait till we get to the afternoon as we'll be up into the 60s with plenty of sunshine. Another windy day, elevated fire risk because of the low humidity. And then Tuesday and Wednesday, let's go ahead and threaten some record highs for the middle of December.
Well, Grammy Award-winning singer and guitarist Michael Nesmith of the 60s pop group The Monkees passed away on Friday. His manager said Nesmith died of heart failure at his home in Carmel Valley, California. Nesmith and lone surviving band member Mickey Dolenz performed in Los Angeles last month. The Monkees were originally assembled for a TV show of the same name in an effort to cash in on the global phenom known as the Beatles. The series aired from 1966 to 1968. Some of the group's biggest hits include Daydream Believer and Last Train to Clarksville. After the TV show, Nesmith had a successful solo career, but also continued to tour with the Monkees. Michael Nesmith was 78 years old.
Also just out this morning, Time's Person of the Year. You want to take a guess? Elon Musk.
There you go.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you with more news and weather when we see you at noon.
Have a great morning and an even better day.
Voted America's best aquarium, Wonders